Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Women in Leadership Talk podcast. Super excited to be here today. We have Brandy Mabra joining us. And Brandy, we're super excited to have you here. So thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. Great. And we're super excited to have our audience here as well. So we know you have a choice as to what podcast you listen to, and we're grateful that, you're checking out the Women in Leadership Talk podcast more often and hearing all the great stories and individuals that we bring on to share, how they've impacted their own lives. So thank you for being here today. So let me give you a little context of who Brandy is. Brandy is the CEO of Savvy Clover Coaching and Consulting, and she's a CEO coach for private practice owners in healthcare. So Brandy has over 15 years of business management and leadership experience, where she has worked in diverse business climates and has turned hot mess practices into those well-oiled and profitable machines. She spent her career building, growing, and leading multi-million-dollar practices, and now uses her skill set to help other women in private practice owners to scale their practices for growth, sustainability, and profit. She has a bachelor's from the Ohio State University and a master's in health administration from AT Still University. Sorry, I almost missed that. Sorry, Brandy. And she's also a professionally certified coach with a Master Energy Leadership Practitioner's credentials at the Institute of IPEC, which is the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching. She has also been part of the 2022 Forbes Coaches Council and is part of Entrepreneur Leadership Network. She's been featured in Forbes, Fast Company, Entrepreneur, Pop Sugar, Create and Cultivate, and several well-known podcasts. She is the founder of Private Practice CEO, which is the CEO school for private practice owners, which empowers her clients to own their CEO status as the leader of their business so that they can have a practice with streamlined operations and engaged team that can run without them. She loves to travel, spend time with her family, and she believes that you cannot build a business on fumes, and that CEO breaks are required. Love that, Brandy, because we all get caught up in that hamster wheel of go, go, go. And so that's a really important message that we're gonna talk about today. So thanks again for joining us, and quite the resume. You've done lots of amazing things. So we're excited to learn more. And so maybe why don't we start with that? Maybe just share some of your background and what led you to coaching and to the work that you're doing today.
Yeah, I always think it's interesting how you think that you're on a path for this, for this journey or outcome. And, it's amazing what can happen just with just a planted seed. And so I think that's how my career has definitely shaped up. If you were to tell me 15 years ago that I would be sitting here and, talking to you, doing this podcast interview, I would be like, no, there's no way. What do you mean? I'm so happy with what I'm doing. And so it's just funny how life works. But essentially, I was in a place of burnout. So I'm very, very, very blessed to have had such an amazing career and to be able to, definitely climb the corporate ladder and be able to work in small private practices and, definitely get the healthcare experience that I've been able to get, especially as a woman, as a Black woman, and so I ended up in the C-suite, with my skill set. And so a lot of my story is around burnout. And so what happened was part of the messaging that I even show up with today, own your CEO status, CEO breaks, that's part of the reason why it's with my bio is because I did not do that. I never leveraged my teams to the full capacity, really like standing up as a leader, being an empower leader, some of the mindset shifts that come with that and everything else. And so I learned that the hard way towards the end of my career when I finally decided to own my CEO status. And so during that journey, I was like, there has to be more than this. There just has to be. And I came across coaching. And when I first initially thought about coaching, I thought about life coaching. And I was like, well, I don't really want to do that. But then I just started to realize like, no, it's so much more than that. There's the leadership part of it. There's, the different aspects of it. It's really about taking the situation and reframing it and putting it in a different perspective. And so once I decided to do more research, I of course went and got certified and fell in love with it, and ended up really stepping into entrepreneurship, become a full-time business owner, left my healthcare management career. But that has been one of the best decisions that I could have made, because now I'm able to still have that healthcare essence, because I love healthcare, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then I'm still able to, tie in leadership, which is one of my favorite topics. And then also I'm still able to make an impact, and I'm still able to help people, and I'm still able to serve people, and I'm still able to do everything that I loved, even within my management career, when it comes to teams and seeing people excel. And, I've had mentees who have gone and gotten additional education, or who are now in roles that I was in, because I prepped them and mentor them. And so it's really fun just how life shapes, but I'm doing way more than what I thought I would. And so my journey was, a long and winding one, but I'm happy where I am at today.
Awesome. Yeah. Wow. So you said a lot there.
I know.
Yeah, no. And fantastic. So I would like to key in on a few of those things if we can, because I think one thing you said there that really struck me was there's more than this. Right. And I think sometimes we get caught up in, just the life and we start to question, like, there's got to be more than this. So what was that pivotal moment for you when you asked that question and you went, okay, this is time for change? Like what really struck you for that?
Yeah, I was actually doing consulting work with a large healthcare payer, and I was traveling to one of the hospital systems I was working with, and I was on the highway, and I was like, man, I am missing out on so many things, and so just thinking back of the basketball games that I missed with my son, or just, family moments, or, I just did not want to be driving on that highway and I did not want to be going to, where I was going to. And so it was at that moment where I was like, I can change this. There has to be something different. So I started to dive deeply into personal development, and I was listening to Denise Duffel Thomas, which is, really, she's a money mindset coach. And, but she was just talking about essentially her journey of just how unhappy she was. And so I had been coined, honestly, even though I've been able to move through my career, I was coined as a job hopper, because I would come in, I would fix a practice, an organization, empower the team, transition the team, and, all those things. And then I would leave. I would get bored and I would leave. And so I started to realize, like, that was actually to my favor. And there's something more that I'm supposed to be doing. And so at that point, I did not know what it was. I had no idea, for that there's more than this. I did not know what this was. I just knew that there had to be something. And I knew if I took action, then everything would reveal itself. And that's essentially what happened. So I just, like I said, I think the more than this was the impact that I was missing. I felt very much underutilized when it came to my skill set. I felt, kind of put in a box, and so even though I've been able to work with some amazing leaders, they never used me to my full capacity ever. Yeah. And so that was very disheartening, right? And so I think even from a leadership perspective, our job is to make sure that we're empowering our team in order to grow and excel, and for them to feel, that they can honestly go out and take on the world. And it's not specifically within your organization most times. So if they feel that way, they'll feel nurtured, they'll stay longer, they'll be more productive, like all those things. And that was not happening with me. And that's where my burnout was coming in, because I was in a constant cycle of trying to just prove myself. Right. And so if I stay late, if I work early, if I, work on weekends, if I, miss my son's basketball game, if I should prove myself that I can do this job, I can do it better than anyone, I'm a strong leader, then there has to be something that the promotion will come, or somebody's going to recognize me. And so it was a lot of just self development for my, personal development, that I had to really dig into that. And so I'm really excited, just the fact that I even found IPEC, because a lot of the work, as a lot of the work that we went through in that program was digging up a lot of this stuff. Absolutely. In order to be able to, really show like our best selves in any situation. So yeah, so there was a lot that happened in that car that day.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And how amazing is that? Like, even to first of all, just to ask yourself that question takes a lot of courage. And, having that tenacity to step out and make things happen. Because what I heard there is you in the beginning, you were kind of waiting for somebody to tap you on the shoulder to say, oh, Brandy, you're worthy. And then Brandy finally went, oh no, I am worthy. So I'm just going to go do it myself. And that's such an important aspect of, that courage, that confidence that, I'm going to go do this because I know I can do more than what's available to me in the situation that I'm in.
Yes,
Love
absolutely.
that. Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I love it. And I want to come back in a minute to talk about, we'll talk more about CEO breaks. But before we do that, I'd like to talk about, in what I read about you and what interested me is your conversation about owning your CEO status. So what do you mean by this? And how will our listeners know whether they're owning, their own worth or their own status?
Yeah, oftentimes when you think about CEOs, you think about corporate and you think about, the most times, the old white guy, essentially that is sitting at the helm of the company or maybe going out and playing golf or, and so essentially when I think about CEO, I think about the fact that you are in a place of ownership, right? You have the power to honestly create any life that you want to create because it's a matter of how you perceive it. And so when it comes to the business side of things, or it comes to the leadership side of things, how you show up as a leader, how you show up in your business, how you show up when you are building a foundation, whether if it's personal, whether if it's for your, for you professionally, it doesn't matter. You are the chief executive officer. And so when I say own your CEO status, that's you deciding that I have a choice. I have a choice for how I look at this situation. I have a choice for if I decide to be, a victim of it, or if I decide to look at it from a place of opportunity, and so you always have the power. And so it's all about ownership. It's all about ownership. So really stepping in fully for the life that you want, and you can honestly do anything. So
No, I agree with you. You're talking my language. I love that. And as you were sharing that, I was thinking back to my last dog. I had rescued a dog, and he had been like running wild for months and months. And I remember when the guy came to help me train him, and he was his specialty was training police dogs. And my guy was a Shepherd Rottweiler. And he said to me, it's so funny. He goes, you need to be the CEO right now. And I was like, I go, what? And he goes, you got to be the CEO right now. He said, this dog is only going to listen to the CEO. And he goes, so I need you to fully step into that power position. And so when you were just saying that, I actually had goosebumps, Brandy, because I'm going, yeah, it plays out in so many aspects of our lives. And we can choose, to your point, to, be submissive or subservient to it, and that's okay too, but you do own that aspect of who you are. And so really stepping into that full power is so important in determining who you want to be and what you want to create or share with the world. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about how to scale and brand yourself. Especially when it comes to like business. So I know you work with business owners and helping them to do that. And so maybe just share, how do we take that new business and help that person start to brand the business, but also themselves personally? What are some of your tricks and tips, I would say?
Yeah, I think it always starts with the clarity for your mission and your vision, and getting really clear on what do you want now, and so a lot of times when we go into these types of exercises, we're thinking, well, I would love to be here 5 years from now, and I would love to be here maybe 10 years from now, but honestly, what do you want right now? Like today, what does that vision look like? Because honestly, the vision's going to change. The mission is going to change. When I first started, even thinking about my business, I my website has changed, my messaging has changed, my colors have changed, my font has changed, my logo has changed, who I'm working with has changed. And so it's all a journey. So at this point in time, one of the best things that you can do is, what is your mission and vision right now today? And that's where you start, right? And so it's a matter of getting clear on, who do I want to help? Who do I want to serve? What do I want to sell? And you start there, right? Oftentimes what happens is, especially in the beginning, you get stuck in the weeds of things. So you think about like, oh, I love pink and I love yellow, and or maybe I could have this logo. And those are the wrong things to focus on. The main thing that you need to focus on, especially as you're building a brand, is just to go out and start, go out and have conversations, go out and find how you can truly help people, tap into the skill sets that you already have. So for me, I had a really strong leadership skill set. I have, business management skill set. I wanted to do everything but that. It was later that, actually 7 months into my business, that I realized like, oh, I could probably be a business coach if I wanted to be a leadership coach, if I wanted to be. So here I am trying to be like this career type coach, and I don't like to do resumes, and I don't understand, how to leverage LinkedIn really. And I just networked and, and been applied for different jobs and interviewed really well. But that's not the topic of conversation that I want to show up and talk about every day. I want to talk about leadership. I want to talk about business. And so once you land on your messaging, the messaging comes through showing up and talking about it every single day. So when I first showed up, I was not saying own your CEO status. Now it's on t-shirts and our clients love it. And, and so, but in the beginning, it was just me saying like, oh, be an empowered leader. Oh, empower your teams. Oh, delegate. No, engage. Like, but it essentially, it's always morphing, but it's always the action that you have to take, and just realize that the business and the brand is going to come as you do more things. And so at this point in time, I've been featured in a number of different places, on a number of different podcasts and articles and all of those things. And so through that activity, it's forced me to really think about, what do I want my brand to look like? I like for my brand to be more luxury. A lot of my branding is based on who I am personally. I love to travel. I love coffee. I love wine. I love being able to, show up in an empowered way. I don't want to be at the mercy of things. And so a lot of my branding that you see is based on that. So it's just, but it all comes through action. So I always want to say that it's not like you can say like, oh, this is my brand today. It's going to change. It'll definitely change.
Absolutely. No, 100%, it does evolve over time. And I would say I was very similar myself with respect to, when you start your business, it will evolve because you learn, you grow, you're experiencing different things, and you also are finding yourself, but also finding those that you need to serve. But let's talk about that a little bit from a self-branding, because, we'll have listeners on here who they're not looking to start their business, but you are your business. Yes. And so let's talk about the branding aspect. So we're not necessarily having a website and looking for colors, but how do you really, I guess, identify how you want to show up in the world, right? How do you want to communicate that to others?
Yeah, it always goes back to the question I ask myself is, how do I want to make people feel? Regardless of how they interact with me. So if they're interacting with me through an email, if they're interacting with me through, my business, whether if it's social media, whether if it's through, my website, if it's me personally, if it's through the workshops that I host, how do I want folks to feel? And that's what I did in my career too. So people knew me because of how I made them feel, and just, I made them feel heard. My leadership style is I'm very much brainstorm. I love to brainstorm. Let's sit down and talk about it, and let's figure out a solution. And so that's, that's essentially the core of anything. And when you think about a branding yourself, it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. Yeah. Right. And so if you want people to talk you up, whether if you're still in that corporate, or whether if you are business or where you're at in your career journey, how do you want people to remember you? You know, if you have a conversation and you leave and you never see that person again, and they go and talk to someone else and you happen to come up in that conversation, what do you want them to say, you know, about you? And so when you think about it from that perspective, that's what you know, that's how you need to show up. You know, I want folks to feel good after talking to me. I want them to feel that they've been heard. I want them to feel empowered. I want them to feel, if they come to me with a problem, I want them to feel, you know, that she listened to me and I have a great solution. You know, it's the same thing with the clients that I have the blessing of working with, you know, is that a lot of the reviews that I've gotten is, she heard me, you know, she listened to me. I'm not jumping into the ship with you, you know, so it's definitely, it all comes down to, you know, again, what do you want folks to say about you when you're not around?
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think that's such an important message. And you know, it is about the legacy, right? Like, how do you want to be remembered? And that's with everything that you do, whether it's a conversation, whether it's an email communication, that, you know, when you're self-branding, it's thinking about how are you showing up and how do you want people to identify you? And I love what you just shared there about if you walked away from that conversation, what do you want them to say? And so I think that's a really important message, no matter what role you're in. It could be mom going to, you know, the student council meeting, or it could be wife going to the dinner party or a gala event, or it could be, you know, in your career. It's really about being mindful of what you're representing and how people are perceiving you.
Yeah,
So I love that.
absolutely. Absolutely. And even the stranger that you come across every day, because you don't know what folks are going through, and your smile or your hello or your, you know, taking the time just to be pleasant could change someone's life. You just have no idea. No idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Love that. Love that. Yes, absolutely. So what's the imprint you're making on the world?
I love that. Yes.
Yeah. So Brandy, I'm just watching our time. And so I'd like us to take a minute and just talk about CEO breaks. You know, I work with a lot of women and some men as well, but a lot of women, we push ourselves. And even when we take a break from our work, you know, we just shift that responsibility to our home life. And so share your thoughts on why the CEO breaks are so important, and, you know, sort of what's the risk reward, if you will.
Yeah, I love that risk reward, because it does feel like a risk. Anytime you take a CEO break, it feels like everything is going to come crumbling down. You know, things are not going to survive potentially without me. For me, for my business, you know, one of the things that I had to recognize was like, oh, okay, my business actually can run without me. I don't have to be and to do all the things career wise. You know, it was essentially, if I leave, will the team be okay? Are they going to be able to sustain things? And so one of the key moments, I remember I took a vacation. I had not taken a vacation for 2 years. And it was just because I just always busy, you know, just felt so busy. And I finally went on a vacation. I went to Vegas, and my team was so excited for me, so excited. And I emailed them during my vacation, and they were furious. They were mad at me because they had seen, you have not been on a vacation for 2 years. Why are you emailing us? Why are you checking in? Why are you even, you know, saying anything? Like, we got it. You need to trust us. And so one of the things when it comes to CEO breaks is allowing yourself the time that you need to just decompress, right? Allowing yourself the time just to rest and to not think about work, not think about the business, not think about the team, but just to know it will be there when you get back. And that is one of the hardest things, especially as ambitious women. We want to, you know, our kids won't survive if mommy goes on a vacation, or my husband or my partner won't be able to make it if I'm not here. And that's not true. They will do fine. It might not be the way that you think that they need to do it. However, they will be fine. Everything will survive. So giving yourself the time that you need. So one of the things that I do is I take CEO breaks in different types of ways. So for example, we were just in Bali for our birthdays. Me and my significant other, we have the same birthdays, like a day apart. And so, you know, last year I was able to go to Bora Bora. I went to Egypt. I
Nice.
love to travel like internationally. And so with those trips, a lot of times you don't have Wi-Fi, or if you do, it's very spotty.
Mhm.
You don't necessarily have cell service, you're in different time zones. And so trying to coordinate things becomes really challenging. And so that's actually been to my favor. The other way that I take CEO breaks is honestly, I stopped putting so many demands on myself when it came to the house, the laundry and dinner. And so I was hired to restructure a primary care. And I did not physically have time or the mental capacity to do all those things. And I felt so guilty. And it was one of the things that forced me to delegate. I was really great delegating at work and utilizing my team, I will say that. But at home, the way that I am now compared to the way that I was then was not the same. And so just giving yourself permission to not do all the things, or to put that kind of pressure on yourself to feel like you have to do all the things, because you don't. If you don't want to do the laundry that day and you want to take a nap, take a nap. Don't do the laundry. If you don't want to cook dinner that day, don't cook dinner. Make your kids help you, just depending on their ages. And so at this point in time, I have a 17-year-old. He knows how to cook. He knows how to, fend for himself. He's very independent. And that started honestly when he was like in 6th grade, because I started to realize if I keep doing this, if I keep living in this burnout state, I am not going to survive. Right. And it's just not going to work. So it's a matter of just deciding to give yourself the CEO break and what that means for you, but give yourself the break, give yourself the time that you need just to be to yourself. So that way, when you show up, you're showing up in such a more empowered way. You're showing up happier. You're showing up more productive. You're showing up, even if you come into 50 emails, those 50 emails will be like, yes, let's go, because you feel better compared to like, oh my gosh, I have 15 emails and, 5 meetings today, and I'm just so tired. I just want to go to bed, so it's just all a matter of giving yourself permission to slow down.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said such a number of things there. Again, that especially when it comes to home responsibilities, we do oftentimes, women in particular, we feel that we have to take it all on. If we don't do it, who's going to? It might not be done the way you would want to do it, but you're also teaching the rest of your household self-sufficiency, independence, providing life skills, because if mom's out and she's not able to do, then you're no good to anybody. So having those CEO breaks is absolutely critical. And lose the guilt. There's no need to feel guilty. And I loved also what you said, like, even about the 50 emails, you come back, you're recharged, you're more creative, you have created more capacity to, come up with solutions, and instead of being, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now because I'm so tired. So there's a lot of benefits when we take those breaks and allow ourselves to recharge.
Yes.
And trust me, our kids do it. Our husbands or partners or, wives or whatever, they do it. And so it is allowing yourself that permission, and that you deserve it. You're worth it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I truly believe in what I know to be true from my story is the guilt. I put that on myself,
Sure.
Not one time, did anybody say, I'm not going to love you, or you're not going to be worthy, or you're not going to be enough if you don't cook dinner 7 days a week. Like nobody,
Exactly.
I put that on myself, and so it's essentially just deciding I'm not going to do that anymore. So
awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. So Brandy, what would be one thing that you would want to share with the audience today that they can walk away with and implement like today?
Delegate one thing. That's one of the things that I say is there is something always on your plate that you are doing that you do not want to be doing. Either it's not in your strengths or it's sucking all the energy out of you. And so I want you to find that one thing that you can get off your plate today. It doesn't have to be the 50 million things, just one, in order to free up your time, so that way you can focus on something else, that makes you feel good, that makes you feel worthy, that allows for you to definitely feel empowered. So that's my one action step for you today.
I love it. I love it. That's so good. And be diligent with it.
Yes, be diligent with it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today. I'm super grateful for you sharing your story and how the burnout impacted you, but how you were able to turn that around into a success story and finding even more so what fuels you and using your strengths. That was really beautiful, and really some great points with respect to, those CEO breaks. That's so important. When you start asking yourself, there has to be more. Yeah, there is more. So how do you find that more? And, being cognizant of what fuels you instead of what drains you. All great feedback and great conversation. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you so much for having me. I said a lot of things I didn't even expect to say. So thank you.
Well, that's how it should be. That's awesome. And I want to thank our audience. We're super grateful for you to be here today. And, I hope that you'll take away some great tips and remind yourself the importance of how do you brand yourself. Brandy shared some great, examples, whether you're a company or whether it's you as a person. How do you want to be remembered in this world? How do you want to serve? I think that's super important. And if you have questions, you can, direct mail me, and I'm happy to share those with Brandy, or you can look up Brandy on social media. So Savvy Clover Coaching and Consulting. So there's ways you can reach out to either one of us and ask additional questions if those they're coming up for you. And if you're curious about your own leadership, please go on to WIL Empowered, that's 1L, willempowered.com, and take our leadership quiz. And that'll give you some insight as to how you're leading your own life. And, that's always a great way to tap into who you are and who you're being in this world. So again, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at our next episode of Women in Leadership Talk. And everyone take care and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.